Leader of the third party.
Honourable Speaker, British Columbians are feeling alarmed and anxious, and with good reason. According to Finance Ministry estimates, U.S. tariffs could lead to 124,000 job losses in BC over the next 3 years. The government's main response to the tariff threat is a hasty plan to fast-track 18 mining and energy projects, including an LNG export terminal. The government estimates these projects would create 8,000 jobs. That leaves 116,000 job losses unaccounted for, a staggering number of jobs. Grocery rebate or not, British Columbians are left wondering how this government will support them during this time of uncertainty and how they will fortify our economy so we're less vulnerable to forces beyond our control. My question, Honourable Speaker, is for the Premier. What is the government's plan to protect people's livelihoods in the short term, but also transform our economy to deliver clean prosperity far into the future?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member opposite for the question, and welcome to this House. One of the first tasks I was charged with in becoming Finance Minister was to bring forward the grocery rebate. We know that there are people in British Columbia who are struggling with affordability. We've taken many measures to support people in affordability. But, Mr. Speaker, on November 25th, when then-elect President Trump announced 25% tariffs across the board to Canadian businesses, the world changed. And we cannot move forward with the grocery rebate. We will, however, continue to support British Columbians in so many ways. And we will double down on the most important things for British Columbians: healthcare, education, safe streets, and ensuring that social services are available, Mr. Speaker. We are moving forward with growing our economy, and we're doing it in many, many ways. And while we accelerate these important projects that we have brought forward, acceleration doesn't necessarily mean only getting to yes. Acceleration can also mean getting to no, because we're still keeping the vital, vital protection of environment and collaboration with Indigenous peoples as our guiding light on these decisions. What we're getting rid of, Mr. Speaker, is death by maybe.
Thank you. Leader of third party, supplemental.
Thank you. The Premier suggested in January at a mineral exploration conference that this government's, quote, hyper-focusing on things like Indigenous reconciliation, end quote, had pulled attention from economic growth. Economic growth from resource extraction can't happen without Indigenous consultation. It's the law. While I recognize that 12 of 18 projects have Indigenous partnership, on February 7th, the Tahltan Nation released a statement saying it was, quote, frustrated and surprised by the province's announcement of projects to be fast-tracked, 2 of them in Tahltan territory. On environmental assessment, the BC Oil and Gas Commission was frequently criticized for being too friendly to industry, and a name change alone will not fix that. How can British Columbians be assured that this government isn't using the tariff threat to push ahead with more conventional resource extraction at the expense of Indigenous rights and critical environmental protections?
Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for a critically important question. It's an honour to get to speak to the partnerships that this government continues to form with First Nations across the province in economic development, as well as in a whole range of efforts to improve the quality of life for First Nations and Indigenous communities, as well as all British Columbians. The work that's been done to move projects forward in light of the alarming threat of tariffs includes, as folks in this House know, an important economic benefit for First Nations, and in fact a majority ownership by equity ownership by First Nations for a number of those projects. Those partnerships continue to be a priority for this government, and where there are difficult conversations, those are difficult conversations we're showing up to have side by side to figure out how we move forward together in this province. The path to prosperity for British Columbians is in partnership with First Nations, and that's a commitment we'll continue to make.
Thank you.